Today we have one of the students in our master's program in Entrepreneurship and Innovation, Bobby, who we are going to be talking, maybe grilling, maybe not. So the whole idea is to share with all of you about this thing called entrepreneurship. This thing about what does it mean to have that entrepreneurial DNA. This thing about this virus in you, which is called entrepreneurship. And see, where does it come from? Why is it so exciting? Why is it that with one life to live that we all have, why is this some people just go into it and become extremely successful? Just some people jump into it. There's some failures, but they keep on coming back, getting up, and they just don't let go of it. So with that, I'm going to let Bobby do a short introduction about his background, and let's jump in.
Yeah, I'm Bobby. I grew up in the Valley. I'm actually from New Jersey, but I moved out here when I was 8, so I'm an Arizona kid. I went to high school at Desert Mountain. I was a football player, so I played 4 years of football down in up in Scottsdale. I went to college at the Claremont University. I played for Pomona Pitzer College. I was a football player. I went to Pitzer, and my undergrad was organizational studies, and my minor was in entrepreneurship. So joined the workforce for a couple of years, and then now I'm an MSIVD student.
Fantastic. Yep. So let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
What made you think about becoming an entrepreneur? Was it when you did your undergraduate and you said, you know what, this is something pretty cool? Or what was the reason?
You know, it was my last semester. I got really lucky. I took a class at Harvey Mudd for entrepreneurship. And it was a very limit, it wasn't too in-depth. It was very pieces of the actual method of entrepreneurship. But it was a lot about scaling. So it skipped a lot of the actual creation and go into how to scale. It was a great class. And that kind of piqued my interest in this. It really motivated me to be, wow, I can do something like this. So that was the head honcho part. This is something I can go do. You know?
What were you thinking before that? Before you got into the class and saying, would you like to go work for somebody?
You know, it was go get a job, go work for somebody else. There was no resemblance anywhere in my life where you can do it yourself. You can make a business. It was always, go to college, go get your degree, go somewhere, get a full-time job somewhere. There was no, hey, you can actually go a different route. Never got that until my last year, and that's why I minored into it.
Huh. Yeah. So one class did that for you?
One class changed my perspective of, how to look at the world, basically.
So, interesting.
Yeah.
So, what do you think when people say, no, entrepreneurs are born with it, or it is just something they have and the rest of them they don't have? Is that a true statement?
I don't think so. I think there's necessary traits for an entrepreneur, what I'm learning now, that are really important for success. But I think there's an argument of nature and nurture. And, a professional athlete has to have a lot of traits to go into the NFL. But if you don't have that nurture, that talent coming out of it with that training, they don't really make it to the NFL or to a professional because they need that nurture. So I think it's a little bit of both, but I truly believe that there's only a couple of traits that you really need to excel in entrepreneurship.
What do you think they are?
One of them is perseverance. Okay. As a football player, I kind of learned that the hard way in my 8 years of playing, but you got to play through whatever is thrown at you, and you have to keep going. There's no quitting. You just had to, you're on the field. You can't just leave the field and say, I'm done. You couldn't give up. And that really taught me, that kind of ideology. If you're into something, you have to keep going. The other trait I think is really important is values. what I think is so special about entrepreneurship, what I've learned in the last 3 months here, your values coexist with the business that you run. And that is so cool to me that, if you have strong values and you believe in something, passionate about something, you can actually make that come alive in a business.
Give me an example of some values.
Some values, one of them I think is what would be huge for ASU is ethics, like if you look at the chocolate industry, like just for example, like there's a lot of companies that will abide by look into ethics and pay for cacao for lower amounts, but they're from farms of child laborers. And I know there's a lot of companies, a lot of founders that are fighting against that. Their value system is we do fair trade. We're paying cacao for this price, so we don't run into that problem.
Very, very, very interesting. So what you're basically saying is that entrepreneurship could be triggered. Maybe we just don't know at times what we want, because our education system is training us to be employees, right?
Yes.
And so we have not been told that there is also this exciting part of being a job maker rather than a job taker, right? But the things that you just mentioned, Bobby, how are they different? Aren't they the same thing if you want to go work for a company also? The value system, the never say die attitude. So are we talking about the skills that you're learning today? You can also help start a company but also be a successful employee?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe one thing that really got me back into this program was my value system was not in line with what I was working with, the company I was working with. But if you find a company that has that same values of you, which I think is not easy, I've only been in the workforce for about 5 years, but it's really hard to find a mission that you really believe in, especially how corporate works these days, of how you have to move up the ranks, that you have to really follow closer to their values. But as in, if you find that company, you can explode, because there's what we've learned is entrepreneurship, where, if you use the framework from what I'm learning now in MSIVD, you can be very successful in a company that you care about.
That's great to hear. Yeah. So MSIVD, and we have recently, the name of this program is changing from MSIVD to MSE&I, MS Entrepreneurship and Innovation. So my question to you is, why this program? Why ASU? Why not Stanford or MIT or some other college? What's so unique about this program?
Yeah, so I think what got me into MSIVD was number one in innovation. The name appealed, but I've looked for majors, like, masters, but masters for about 5 years. I was always interested, especially getting my MBA, but it never appealed to me because I just didn't want to sit and do case studies. That is not like me. I wasn't really, it wasn't like that. And I felt like there was really nothing out there that really I wanted to do. And I'm not even joking. When I saw this master's, I created a product, Podsheds. And my problem with the Podsheds was I didn't have the backing or education to really continue the growth of it. It sells on Amazon, but I knew I needed something. And it took me 2 days when I saw this master's. I'm like, this is what I needed to do. And why I think it's awesome. One, I think ASU backs. I've only been in it for about 3 months. ASU backs their claim of being number one in innovation. The amount of resources and potential, and they really care about innovation, but they care about you being successful. I've never felt like this in my undergrad, where I got so much support from mentors, so much support from, especially, was it the Skysong? Skysong has been amazing help, but the resources is incredible. And then the second reason is how unique the program is itself. I didn't want to go to an MBA because there was a part of me that just couldn't pull the trigger. I don't think I would have been successful in it. But in MSIVD, or what it's going to be named to, was it MSE&I?
Yes.
It's the goal of the program is you are in the foot of the founders, and you are a CEO for the time in the program. So you're learning how a founder put their value system, how they did it, and you're going to try to do the same. And that's what I've been doing. It's you're a founder learning from the experience. So it's great.
No, that's fantastic. So let's talk about your business idea.
Yeah.
What are you working on?
Yeah. So, I'll start from the beginning of the program, but I came in with a goal. I wanted to help kids. I worked for a lot of nonprofits, schools, and I can tell you the difference from before COVID and after COVID was crazy. The anxiety, depression, my own sister has like so many problems just because of what happened over COVID. And it sparked me because that's where I wanted to help. I saw a problem with kids these days. So when I got into the program, it took only about 2 months to really kind of find something I'm interested in doing. What we saw was self-regulation. Actually, from one of the IPs that were given to us in the program, we found this idea of self-regulation, which helps emotional dysregulation, which is what kids are suffering from. They can't control their emotions because of anxiety, because of their amygdala response. So I partnered with actually one of the other cohort members to work on this self-regulation concept, or this IP. And we've in about 2 to 3 months, we've really narrowed it down of how we're going to get this going. And we completely pivoted like a couple times, but it was for the better. So now what we're doing is we're creating a self-regulation method, but we've switched out beachhead customer. So now we're working for gamers, competitive gamers, and poker players who suffer from tilting, which is the same term as emotional dysregulation, but it's a term that they know. So what our goal is to create a method for them so they can be successful at what they do, which is winning in poker, winning in video games, use that method and put it into different industries like athletes and, for me, kids.
So explain to me in simple terms the problem in a kid.
Yes.
And what you are proposing as your startup idea. How specifically is it going to help them?
Yeah, so kids are struggling with depression, anxiety. They cannot control their emotions. What happens is, let's say you have a 7-year-old that came after COVID who have basically trauma from this experience, and they can't control a response from the amygdala. So when they get into a mood where they're in fight or flight, so someone says something, someone bullies the kid, someone doesn't allow them to play with them, their emotions go crazy. It's actually, I think, a sympathetic response where they're in fight or flight and they can't calm themselves down. So, I would be saying, hey, Donnie, stop. Donnie, stop. And they would not stop. They can't control themselves. So self-regulation is really interesting. It's a biofeedback way of letting you know, hey, you are in a bad emotional state. Kids can't grasp that. They can't grasp, I'm not normal. They just use their emotions. The adrenaline pumps in them, and then they can't control that. So they will do actions that they wouldn't normally do because something happens to them. So we found self-regulation as such a cool way because it's a part biofeedback where you have to learn. It's repeat process of learning how to control your anger and your anxiety and the emotions you feel, and learning about this is how I feel, and knowing I need to calm myself down. So there's like 2 different aspects of it. We really want to create a method that does both, teaching what right now the gamers, hey, you are in a tilted state. And then second, this is how we have a method for you to help you calm yourself down. So,
is it a technology that you're developing, or how would that look like?
Yeah, so we are doing both ways. We're actually making a physical product and an app and a technology to go with it. Right now, we are in early stages. We took the last 3 months of really hedging, having this idea grow. But right now, what we see is a repeatable method that's easy in about a 5 to 7 minute time frame that you can redo and over again. That will really teach. I'm in a frustrated, emotional, dysregulated state. I can use this product to release the adrenaline, focus back up, and then go return play. So, we are really targeting this tilting first to see if we can make this method work. And then we'll be targeting kids and athletes right after it.
How big is this market?
Market is large. For competitive gamers alone, I am a competitive gamer and I know the effects of tilting. Competitive gamers want to win. They will, especially poker players. Tilt takes your best decision making. So you might have a decision, but if you're in this tilted state, it's just your emotions take over. But for competitive gamers, we did it in our pitch slide. We see there's about 96 million in the U.S. alone, and worldwide, it's in gamers in general, it's about 2.7 billion.
Talk to me more about, for people who don't understand, tilting.
Tilting.
What does that mean in a poker player or a competitive gamer?
So it actually derived from pinball. Back in when it was first created, because people would get so mad that they're losing that they would tilt the machine in their advantage, and they would say tilt. But it got really popular in the term for poker because tilt means your best decision is caused by something that happened on the field. Either if you lost to another player, if you think you're better than the other player, confirmation bias, you lost a big hand. So then your emotions take over and you're like, all right, I'm just going to go all in. I don't care. So your best decision, which is actually thinking through the process is clouded by judgment of what you're feeling. And for competitive gamers, it is really bad. There's a lot of emotional dysregulation from experience alone, where you would see gamers throw their controller across the screen. They will yell at their teammates. There's a huge problem in online competitive gamers. But what I think they start to realize is once they're in this state, their performance goes out of, because in competitive games, your reaction is seconds. In poker, it's about 4 to 5 minutes of actually you can decide of a move. In a game, your decision making has to be so quick and focused that if you're not thinking you're the best and you're tilting, you might be making it worse. You might be going down a spiral. And what we see is the problem is it's self-regulation. How do you get out of this state? How do you get back to a better zone where you can think better? And that's what we're trying to tackle. And what we think the problem is. So
I know that you're a competitive gamer, so you are experiencing it and you see the problem. And that you're saying that, you know what, I'm going to make my own small little dent in the universe. But there are many who will say that, God, you're going to be an entrepreneur? It's so risky. And over 90% of the companies fail.
That's true.
Why are you doing this? Why are you taking such a big risk? What would you tell those people who are saying, no, I'm very happy just getting into the workforce and just doing a regular... I'm not saying that's bad. What I'm saying is this, that this whole concept of thinking like an entrepreneur and maybe starting a company that could become the future decacorn. But people are scared. What would you tell them?
It is risky. It's not the easiest route. You are risking your own money. When I made Pod Sheds, I had to put money out from the actual mold. For the design process, I put a risk, an innate risk that I was willing to do, even though I didn't know the outcome. But what I think is special about especially MSIVD is that I wish I knew this earlier, because the framework that what we're learning is mitigating the most risk as possible. And I wish I knew that when I started my first little venture with Podsheds, because I would have done things differently. But being in the program too, we're learning how to create this venture. We've got to this point, and it's still an educational setting. At the end of the day, what's important for me is that framework. Because once I get that framework, once I know exactly how to start something and know how to mitigate the most risk possible, then I would be successful sometime. This might not work out, but that framework, I can start something again next year. I can keep going. That the failures I'll learn hopefully will boost me into a better position next time.
Well, what do you tell people who are saying that, God, too risky for me? This whole entrepreneurship thing is, I'm happy with a monthly paycheck. I don't need multi-million, billions of dollars. So let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
When you are thinking about starting a company, even with your first product, and now you're thinking about this new idea that you're working on, what's driving you? Is it the money?
Not really. Passion. I mean, what I talked about earlier, I want to help. I have this goal. The goal is somehow I want to help a kid. I want to, bring a kid and help them. And that really drives me. That's driven me since my football days. For some reason, and I can go into that more later, but it's that passion of doing that. I don't think money matters as much. I mean, of course, it's great, but it doesn't matter as much as trying to make a difference. I think entrepreneurship really helps a lot. What I said earlier, the values, you can actually bring your values into the company or you're basically a venture. And the people always say, on the fence that, it's fine. It's not for everybody, but I truly believe if you have something that you think is wrong and you want to make right, this is the best way of doing it.
No, so in the process, you're extremely passionate about it because for your own personal experiences also. And that in a way is what's driving you rather than, if I need to make $100 million or $1 billion, and that's the reason let me start a company. That is not your starting point, is it?
No, normally, no. Not when I came into the program. I don't think a lot of the cohort in our cohort is actually like that too, which is surprising. You would think that's a main goal, but it's truly, the problem that you're solving is a passion innate that you want to solve. And that's what I think MSIVD taught us throughout the first couple months. What do you want to solve? And let's make that into a venture. I do think there is a game element for people that want to make a scaling giant business, but I think MSIVD, it's counteracted to you will get to a point where the greed will not make you successful. I think you have to do it out of passion, because when you get, if you're doing it for just greed, any good idea is what you'll go with, but it might not be the best idea because you might not be passionate about it, or it might just not be a good idea because you're not really doing any research, because we really don't delve into the process of what it actually is. Example is AI. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to do something with AI, but I think if they don't have any passion or really know anything about, artificial intelligence, it seems like you're setting yourself up for failure. If you're thinking, oh, this will make me $300 million, do you have the backing? Do you have the passion to really do the work to get to that point? And I don't know if you do it for the money, I think that's the huge problem that you run into.
No, I'm so happy that you could come here today.
Yeah.
Are there any other points that I may have missed talking about that you would like to share with us? Anything that I may have not asked you today?
Yeah.
So this whole idea today was to just sit down with you and just talk about entrepreneurship in general, about what prompted you to become an entrepreneur. why is Arizona now becoming a hotbed for entrepreneurship? The master's program in entrepreneurship that we have today, and folks like you who are coming in trying to solve a bigger problem and building an ecosystem around. Maybe there are things that we are doing well. Maybe there are things that we need to do better. That is also something that we would love to get feedback from you as we move along. But in the end, best wishes to you, and all the support that we can provide you with your venture. We will be there for you. So thank you very much for coming.
Yeah.
And this was absolutely a pleasure. And all of you, this is you'll be seeing more like this. We'll be talking to graduates who have graduated from our entrepreneurship program. We'll be bringing in investors, faculty, program directors. So in this series, you're going to get very, very different perspectives. And if you do have any suggestions on and comments on people who we should bring in and questions we should ask, please feel free to reach out to us. With that, I'm signing out. Thank you.